Hi. Okay, this is the first response to a comment or question that was presented by people. And I want to read out the question because this is about boundaries in relationships and about relationship with people and the world. So how to behave in that situations. Okay, so I'll read it out loud for you about what the uh, question was, and then I'll take the time to break it down and respond to it. Okay, so my friend said, good luck with the new group. I am most intrigued recently with the idea that we fool our own selves. We can gaslight our own self when we don't want to face the truth about, fill in the blank, whatever it is. How can we notice when it happens to us? And I asked for some clarification, and she wrote, well, giving over control to authority or explaining away unacceptable behavior of others, or even unseemly behavior in self, an inability to change one's belief or position on any given issue or situation are some of the common traits. I see it so very often in others and even clients, and it makes me wonder how I might notice if I am doing any of that myself. And I also wonder how to gently help or point out that out to others searching for help in their life. And this person is a known helper, healer, teacher. It's a sort of digging in your heels in the face of an apparent opposite truth kind of thing. Two places I see this happening a lot are in current medical situations and in the recent chaos on college campuses. A term I have seen a lot that is a massive generalization, but intriguing in how relevant and in meaning is it seems like opposite day. Like everything is opposite. Humans are, for example, increasingly, almost violently demanding tolerance for intolerance. Okay, so there's a few things here, a few important elements in this that I want to break down. So first of all is finding the inner compass of recognizing patterns within the self and noticing how it is with others. And another part of that is holding on to your own power in putting boundaries, what you accept and what you don't accept. But most importantly, in any relationship that continuously change, even with friends you've had for whatever 20 years, is where's the relationship right now? And does this relationship bring me up? It's very important to discern that. Does this relationship bring me up? Does it serve me? It's not selfishly, but I'll give you an example. I had a client that recently we started talking about. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm talking on my phone with this friend of mine. We've been friends since seventh grade, and this lady's in her 50s, so long time relationship." And she's like, every time I'm on the phone with her, I talk to her for like 2 hours, and I feel drained. I feel like, oh God, it's like I feel like more upset and more discombobulated than I did before. And it's like somehow it always turns to talking about her things, her issues, her challenges with her family and other family members and other friends. And eventually it's all about, and like, okay, so what is and then we start to analyze, okay, what does it come to? And then we start to really look at the pattern. What is the pattern of the conversation? And we notice the pattern is always comes back to that friend, to her issues. She wants to talk about her issues and get validated about her challenges and how poor me, everybody's doing this to me, and now and aren't they wrong? And it's not fair. And now feel sorry for me. And just say that I'm right, right? So we notice that pattern in the conversations. And I asked her, how many times does these conversations go to you? And like, oh, well, we start talking about me. She asks just a general question, and it immediately goes back to her. Typical narcissistic behavior. Bringing attention, always conversation goes back to that person or their what they want to talk about, their agenda, and quickly brushed off of whatever that is that you're talking about and goes back to them. So recognizing the pattern within the relationship. And again, key word, does this relationship bring me up? And when you do that, when you start recognizing, okay, maybe it's not, it's time to evaluate that relationship. And we need less drama in our life. And it's not only about always severing the relationship, but also testing, okay, I need to put some boundaries here. And if they accept the boundaries, Beautiful. You can continue, and the relationship becomes healthier for you because you are working within your own boundaries and what you feel is right for you. That is not violating your, again, you don't want to feel drained after talking to your friend. You want to feel inspired, elevated, happy, or even if it's concerns that you want to share the concern with them and help them somehow. That's what friendships are about. But it's not supposed to be draining. So that's the example about friendships. And but the biggest challenge, again, you have to evaluate the relationship, what needs to change in order to you to feel comfortable or feel validated or feel, again, more equal reciprocity within the relationship. And it's not only one-sided. You see, like, wow, this is like, back to my client's example, this was a relationship almost was 30 years. So like, it's a relationship 30 years. I don't want to lose that relationship. Like, well, and we talked about it, we tried a few things. That person was not responding well. So like, oh, well, cut that relationship to a place in which you feel comfortable in. Either have, don't drag it, don't get hooked into those stories, because it's always about stories and they get hooked into the stories. So learn how to not get hooked into the stories, into their pattern of what they want, and cut it short. Still keep the relationship, but change it to a way that is not draining to you. Okay, so that's about that. And I know it's not exactly what she was talking about, so I want to go back now. So this is about relationships. Now let's talk about what it is for you as you gaslight yourself, because it happens sometimes. We're like, wait, this person was really mean to me in some way. Maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe it is me that because they probably blame you or something. Oh, you were not flexible enough. You're not seeing the other side well enough. And there's a big problem about extremism that is happening in society in the past, no, 5, 10 years, which is getting really polarized on everything. And there's a deep intolerance to people who don't think like me, whatever that is. So I'll talk about that more in a second, but I want to talk about that inner compass first. Can you recognize when you are off base and when you need to shift your belief systems or moderate them? Because a lot about, again, finding ourselves in those extreme polarized spaces and going into those rabbit holes and realize, oh, I'm deep into that rabbit hole and not coming out of it. And I'm standing there and being like, no, it just can't be. It has to be this way. This is so fighting, resisting, and feeling this is the cause that this is the hill I'm going to die on, kind of the expression. Like, I'm not willing to give up on anything. That's zealousy. It's a fight of ideas, and is it really worth your health, your wellness? You got to think about it. Is it worth it? You got to evaluate. What am I thinking about? Am I thinking irrationally about this? Am I too far into one end that I cannot see the other side? And this is where the extremism is challenging, because when you get to that point, when you cannot see the humanity and the humanity of the other side in which you find yourself in, you are losing yourself, your own humanity, because then you cannot see of their point of view. Put yourself in their shoe, kind of thing, their shoes. Um, so this extremism is this volatility that is born with it. And we can see it now. There's like a complete black and white. Either you are with me or against me. And if you're not thinking exactly the same as me, you're against me. This level of intolerance. And like, if you remember, like, I used to have friends that you don't necessarily agree with on everything. And that's okay. But you can still, okay, let's agree to disagree. It doesn't exist anymore. Let's agree to disagree. So back to the internal compass of, am I gaslighting myself? And it's like asking, am I too far out on one limb and not seeing the bigger picture of the two sides? And not understanding, or am I like becoming so intolerant that I do not see the humanity of the other side, or don't see, even if no, the other side is not clearly wrong, whatever, it's corporations, you can say something that nobody really agrees with, and they usually are pain in the ass and really don't respect the individual. So when you see that corporation, you're like, okay, that's the reality, and I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to support it in any way, but I don't have to also die on that hill. So it's a balance between, okay, am I too far off? And the one thing I use all the time to balance myself, sorry if I'm rambling too much, but this is an important point. I like to talk to my spirit guides because they give me that perspective that is beyond my own mind, that is built on opinions and things and pros and cons and some even going to the heart by going like, okay, what is in my highest good? Asking that to your spirit guides. And if you do not have a relationship with the spirit guides, I highly encourage you to start developing that. And I did a course on that. I can leave the link below, um, of what is in my highest good. Because sometimes we're off. We go into a tangents in our heads and we're off. So I like to connect with my guides daily to bring myself to alignment with my own highest good. Because we do go off. We do go off the reservation in a way that is sometimes unhealthy for us. So develop a deeper relationship with your inner compass. And sometimes that inner compass, what's the, no, but I really feel it's wrong. I feel, okay. But is it in your highest good to fight it and have that animosity, have that, again, buildup of lower vibrations within you of hatred, um, fear, frustration, anger? These are not spaces you want to spend a lot of time in. It brings down your own light. So why do you want to spend so much time in it and be angry and be upset and hate and be intolerant and be frustrated? Again, it's all that stuff. It's not a good space to be in. Does it serve you? Absolutely not. So if you focus on building the light within and letting go of those things, whatever is the latest trend, because there's always something that is polarizing that's coming up. A few years back, it was COVID, and all the things around it, which was very polarizing. Now it's no, any war is going on, whether now it's Ukraine, now it's Israel and the Gaza Strip and the Hamas war. Every time there's something else that is extremely polarizing and forcing people into no far corners and that do not tolerate each other whatsoever. And I can see that. And I can see that, like, for example, again, I'm not going to pick sides here, but in what is happening, the intolerance that you see now from both sides of example the Hamas and Israel war. Both sides have been wronged. It doesn't make what they do a right, but both sides have suffered enormously. And not seeing that and ignoring what doesn't fit into that world scheme of they're bad and these are good. Not one side of them is really good, and I know a lot about it. So it doesn't mean you ignore the suffering of the other side. It doesn't mean you approve of everything one side does, because none of them are really 100% good. It's the fact. And the more you learn about it, the more deeper you learn about it, you'll see that. So that there's a lot of gray area. And seeing it without polarizing, it's only this side or that side that's wrong. It can't be both wrong or it can't be both right. No, it's a lot of gray, it's a lot of history, and it's just not being able to see that the other side has suffered, other side has been wronged, and you have wronged, and either side have wronged the other in some way. It's a problem. And that forced people forcing you to tolerate something or telling you if you don't tolerate this, if you don't accept me for who I am, I hate you. It's also a level of intolerance. And intolerance in any way is not in your highest good. And here's a main point I want to make about it. When you think about it, any topic, what would love do? And I love this. Literally, because it shifted my opinion when I started getting like all upset about what's going on and the world's falling apart. Like, what would love do? And then you start shifting the perspective on everything that you see and observe. What would love do? What would give people their dignity back, their freedom, their self-empowerment, and their safety? But that's for that topic. But what would love do? How do you resolve it with love, not with animosity or like this side is right, this side is wrong? Just love. What would love choose? If you were love, and love is a force, right? It's a force of nature, a force of the universe. It's not just an emotion. What would love choose? So in any topic, in any part, and sometimes it'll bring you to, okay, this friend doesn't agree with me on several issues, but I still love them. And that's what would love do. So we won't talk about those things that separate us. We'll talk about the things that bring us together. That's okay. It's okay. And there's beauty in everyone. But sometimes that relationship is no longer worth keeping because it's toxic. It turned toxic, and it happens. So do your evaluation. What's in my highest good? What would love do? And am I too far down on one side to bring this more deeper understanding and tolerance to other humans? Because even if they're wrong or you're wrong, respect each other, honor each other, the humanity within each other. All right. I hope you can receive this. And if you've watched it this far, thank you. I know I've been rambling a lot. Please subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.